I'm joined in studio this morning by Cathy Thicke, who is one of the candidates for Tofino's Municipal Council with the elections coming up in just a couple of weeks. And before we get into that, I just want to send this message out in general to all the candidates in Tofino and Ucluelet for mayor, council, and whatever. We would be happy to have you in. We've had a few in already, and we've got more booked for most of next week. And we'll make time for everyone and anyone who gets in contact with us. So please email me, Jeff, Geoff, at longbeachradio.ca if you're interested. Now we're going to turn the mic over to Cathy Thicke. Thanks for joining us this morning, Cathy.
Thank you.
We've been opening, we've been using a series of kind of fairly generic open-ended questions to allow the candidates a chance to direct the conversation the way they would like. And the first one, to set the stage, is just a quick question about your background in the community, maybe how you came to end up here, or how people might recognize you and some of the causes or businesses you might have been involved with in your time here on the coast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought this was an interesting question because I really had to think about how I came, why I came, and even why I'm still here.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought I'd give you a little short story. And I first came here in the 60s, actually, with my parents. And I remember driving across the gravel road from Nanaimo, and it was probably 6 hours or so. And I can remember my grandmother sitting in the back who was visiting from England saying, "How long is it till we get there?" Just like a little kid. And I think that my memory of this idyllic beach that my father had promised me I was coming to was very quickly overcome by this nauseous feeling in my stomach. So I don't have a great memory of that first trip. However, later on in the 70s, my future husband, who's still my husband, Stephen, came out here working in commercial fishing, but things didn't go so well, so he ended up actually as a surf guard at the national park. And he didn't know how to surf at the time, but he loved the job, and by the end of the summer he not only knew how to surf, but he became addicted.
Yep.
So then, I guess going on from there, a few years later, he came back to work here as a medical intern. In school, you have to spend a short period of time doing a rural placement.
Mm-hmm.
So he did that. And then another few years went by, and he was called up by the person who was his mentor, Dr. Harvey Henderson, and was asked if he would like to take over the practice here. So we were living in New Zealand at the time, and we thought long and hard about it, and we actually decided, yes, we'd love to come back to Tofino and establish a home here.
One island paradise to another.
I guess. It's a warm island paradise down there.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think that was an interesting question because as I came to think about how I came to be here, I thought it's sort of a story of giving your heart a home.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, initially you're drawn to this place because of the beauty or the activities and all the possibilities that exist here. But the reason that I think I'm still here and I still love being here is because of the relationships with the people that really are the backbone of this community. And so it's no longer about the things that you came to do initially,
mm-hmm.
but now it's about the people who you've grown to love.
So does that lead fairly naturally, I guess, into why you decided to run for council this time, to give back to those people you've grown to love? Or
yeah, I mean, I guess we could all say that, but I wanted to tell you tell the listeners another little story about just a way that good things happen. And this is a story about the MUP, and I like the story because it reminds me of just how much our community efforts need to be grassroots and involve lots of people and just really start from the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And the story of the MUP really was about 21 years ago, before there was a Parks and Rec department in Tofino and before there was any money set aside for the MUP. There was this a growing need in the community for people, young families, to
mm-hmm.
have their kids go back and forth to the beach safely.
Yep.
So as a member of the Rec Commission, we started to think about this. What can we do, and what should our next ideas or directives be? So I thought about this, and we discussed this, and we thought, well, why don't we phone people? We didn't have email in those
mm-hmm.
days. So we phoned people, and we did a telephone survey of about 100 people in the community, and we decided at the end of that survey, the responses showed that what people really wanted was a path
mm-hmm.
that allowed kids to go from town to the beach and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So without any money and with just a wing and a prayer, we thought, well, what do we have. We have lots of fish here. So we thought, well, we'll go and ask the fishermen if they can donate some fish to us. So we got the fish, and we decided we'd run a multi-use path salmon supper, and that was the beginning. And I think, we started off with $3,000. We started off, and we did that for several years. And at the end of several years, we went to the council, and we said, we've got this money. We really want to do this path. Can you help us? And that was the beginning of the multi-use path. And I think that story sort of bears repeating, because it's taken 21 years to get that path to completion. And now I think it's great, because there's another whole group of people who are concerned with lighting them up. Yep. And I take my hat off to them, and I think, great, let's just keep on going. If we can just keep the alders cut, then we'll have a sustainable path. Yep. But the story is good, because it makes me think about just how, without any money, but with a lot of interest and drive, we came together and just started to establish a fund for the MUP, and the MUP grew from nothing to the path that we have today. And I know that in the summer there's probably hundreds of people who use that.
So what I'm getting from that, how that story applies to the question, is that you would like to be in a position where you can help those grassroots movements get through the bureaucratic process of the council?
I guess the story of looking back to the MUP shows me of the importance of just grassroots and community spirit, and just how that can make things happen. And if we look at our economy today, the economy of tourism, it's very single-focused. So I see this as we need to do something, either to diversify the product or to just to diversify the offering. In other words, how can we get people here who could stay longer so that perhaps they could spend more money? Or how can we diversify the product that we have? What is it that we can offer that might, because right now we've got the young actives and the old actives, and we've got nice people going for spas and great suppers, and we offer all that. But how can we increase our offering in the shoulder season, for example? And so I don't know how many of you have been following the papers lately, but in the Globe and Mail, just the other day, it said that we in BC had a 220,000 person drop in tourism in the year 2011. So that's pretty significant. And I think that we as a community, we as the poster child for tourism BC, and we as a community of people who rely on tourism, need to think really long and hard about how we could diversify the product that we offer.
So that's one of your priorities. I guess that's usually kind of the next question. We've been doing this. One of your bigger focuses, should you be elected, is going to be diversifying that economic tourism and other economic things. Is there? You mentioned a specific initiative you were interested in before we got on the air here. The higher education. Do you want to go into a little bit about that? Or?
Well, I think about education generally. I think, as we spoke earlier, that we are sitting in this amazing UNESCO World Biosphere Reserve. We have a classroom at our feet as we speak. We have this natural asset that is really the perfect classroom. And I guess a question that I would like to ask the community is, what do we have that we could offer that could increase our offering in the shoulder season? And perhaps one idea, not the only idea, but one idea is this avenue of education. And if you think about education, to me what's exciting is that it is a very sustainable option. It's very green. As an economic driver, we're building people and not necessarily mines or condos or more development per se. We're bringing money into our community, and we're creating capital. And ultimately, I think my hope would be in that we would also raise one another up and raise our community capacity so that we could all contribute in a more vibrant, positive way to our community.
Well, that sounds like a good combination of things coming together like that. Are there any other things that you would like to bring forth before we give people a little information about how they can get in touch with you or what have you?
I guess just a closing comment is, as I said earlier, that I think if we make Tofino a great place to live, it will become a great place to visit. So that's kind of my if you wanted a summary statement, that would be my summary statement, I suppose. I'm in the midst of setting up a Facebook page. I'm not a big fan of Facebook pages, but I have one.
Yeah.
And I'm available to talk, and people know where they can reach me. I'm in the phone book,
Yeah.
and I often stop and talk to people on the street. So delighted to meet with anyone at any time.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Cathy. We've been wrapping these interviews up with a song, and you had a very specific song that you wanted to hear. Actually, do you want to tell a little story before we go into that?
This song is called St. Columba. It's written and performed by my daughter's boyfriend. It's a song about the St. Columba Church. And what I like about it is this recording was actually done in the church. And Mike Adele, who's singing the song, wrote this song because he saw and understood the history of the church and the fact that it was to be sited on the most beautiful place on Vancouver Island. Yet, only 5 or so years ago, we, the community, allowed the development of the shore to proceed, which occluded the view of the church. So I think it just speaks to that delicate balance between what we have had in the past and where we're going in the future. And I think it's a good song.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Cathy. Cathy Thicke in the phone book. Look her up if you got any other questions or comments for her. And this is Mike Adele with St. Columba to wrap up the interview. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.